older, wiser, but am I a better director? Because the rules of survival changed, and I'm going to choose me. Welcome back to the Cutting Room Floor, the show where you get the behind-the-scenes stories on some of your favorite projects. I'm Liam, and today we are talking my 2019 short film, Rules of Survival. Let's get into it. Last week we talked about my directorial debut, Campless, and then the 2025 reimagining of it, Final Exposure. This time we're talking about Rules of Survival. This was my 2019 film, so the second short film. Yes, it was a 2-year gap, but the second short film to come out on my channel that I had ever made. Rules of Survival is different in some ways, but it's also similar in a lot of ways. For one, it is a school project, but by this time I'm in high school and I'm actually taking a video production class. So it's a film class where I'm learning new tips, tricks, and skills. I'm getting better at editing, better at writing. I'm actually writing scripts, storyboarding, and I know how to use a camera better. There have been improvements on all fronts, but I'm still directing, and this time I'm not a character at all in the movie. I don't show up in Rules of Survival. If you guys have seen it, by the way, in the card, link in the description. Check it out if you guys haven't already. But in Rules of Survival, I am not a character. I am purely using actors. And a big difference between Campless and Rules of Survival, these guys kind of can act, and they really want the project to go well. This isn't just helping a friend out on a project. This is acting in a project. This is acting in a film. In this film, we have Aiden Smith, Matthew Smith, and Matthew Coles returning from Campless. He is the only returning actor. If you guys don't know who Matthew Coles is playing, it's because you actually don't see his face. He plays the Smile Monster, but it won't get that name until the next year. 2019, I was in grade 11. Older and ready to tackle a new project. Again, Campless was a found footage. Most projects I'd made up to that point were either short, camera on a tripod, I'm in front of the camera, or holding the camera, doing a little documentary vlog type thing. So this was a completely different beast. Again, I was really, really excited about this, but kind of over my head. Rules of Survival was for my final, for my video production class in grade 11. I was completely alone. I was the only kid in the class. It was a class of just me. So it's a little different. There was a little more freedom in the choice I'd make. I didn't have as many classes to go to, but I was making a script. Again, we actually got to go on location, and this time it was an overnight trip. We went to our scout camp, and we had an RV there. It was a treat area, and when I was envisioning this, it was definitely inspired by Campless in a lot of ways, being in the forest, having this creature, hunting the characters. But I wanted to really avoid the issues and the mistakes I had made with Campless. So when it comes to Rules of Survival, I don't remember all the inspirations. There was a lot of films. I was really into YouTube at the time. I'm a YouTube watcher. So I watch YouTube and I get inspiration from that. And so I was getting a lot of inspiration from all of these different places. Again, a lot of camping, horror videos, a lot of urban exploration. Those videos, the feel of those inspired a lot of my early films, which is why a lot of them take place in these less populated areas. There's not extras. Most of my, actually, I don't think any of my films take place in populated areas with like extras, stuff like that. But this was a completely different beast because we were going out. There was no adult chaperone. I was the one in charge of the project with 3 friends. So not only do I have to really step into that director role, and that's the thing with Rules of Survival, I was a director in this one. I had to be a director in this one. But with Rules of Survival, I feel like I'm saying that a lot. Let me know in the comments if I'm annoying you with that. I could try and say the name of the projects less. ROS. No, I don't like that. Rules of Survival. I'd been making videos for 3 years at this point, so I had experience. I was much more comfortable with the camera, and I was much more comfortable with what I wanted. That was the big thing. Campless, I didn't know what I wanted. But Rules of Survival, I'm aware of what I'm looking for. And I feel like that really comes out when you actually look at the project. See, this was more of a cinematic project. We were putting a lot more work into it. So this meant that we had to get B-roll shots. Other shots that directly weren't related to the story, but looked good. That's why there's lots of shots of the camera going through grass. Matthew has a whole running scene at the very beginning. That's purely there just to give him a little extra time and to do a stunt. That was my first ever stunt in a film. Was it a big stunt? No, it was Matthew tripping on a log and falling. But little fun fact, first take. He did that first take. I made him do it like 3 more takes, but he did it perfectly first take. I used the first take. I know that because it wasn't as good the other takes. Matthew was a trooper though. The costume I had him in was the hoodie and some pants. It was cold. We filmed this, I think, late March, but we were up in like the mountainy areas. So it's snowing. It's been raining on and off. The biggest issue with filming this, it rained constantly. Might not be the biggest issue considering we are indoors. However, we're not in a house. We're in an RV. So if it's raining constantly, guess what the issue is? You can hear it echoing on the roof. And I don't have my fancy mic that I've been using. I don't have these mics. I don't have proper mics. I'm using a basic Rode mic, which is going to capture a lot of audio. And we tried a couple of times to film the scenes indoors. We went, oh, it's raining. That's fine because we have outdoor and indoor scenes. So we can make it work. And we didn't film it chronologically. As we get into things, you guys are going to realize something about me. I am a director that loves to film chronologically. I make short film projects that happen within a certain time period, and I film in that time period. We start at the beginning of the film, and we film from there. Is it always the best option? No, I won't say that's always the best option. And I have done projects where I don't do that. Rules of Survival is one of them. But I have to say for a lot of them, it does help with the keeping things clear and keeping things like in the right order. But nevertheless, Rules of Survival. So we filmed in and out. We really took advantage of every time we had the rain. So we would go inside, film a scene, go outside, film a scene, bounce back and forth. But the biggest thing we needed to get was the outside intro. The beginning of the film is entirely Matthew running through the forest, just being outside. When it's raining lightly, we can definitely go out there and film. But if it's heavily raining, it's an issue. Not just because the audio is bad. I'm using a camera. Cameras are not waterproof. Not the DSLRs I'm using. And this was a brand new DSLR at this point. I'd had it for less than a year. But we still needed to film outside. So it was raining, lightly spitting. It wasn't that big of an issue. We made it work. But we went out, we filmed, and me and Matthew were out there for a while. We actually got like a good, I think, hour and a half where there was no heavy rain. We could just film and film. And there was a lot of scenes, a lot of takes and just little shots that we took that are not there. Matthew did that original stunt that made it in like 3-4 times. I made him do a couple more stunts because I was like, I don't know if that's where I'm going to want to put it. What if I want to fall later on? So we did that scene without him falling like 2-3 times. He was a trooper. We went and did a lot of filming outside. We did a lot of running and going around. And it's a small area. I feel we made it feel bigger than it was. We were running between probably like 20 feet. I don't know, like a 20 meter area in the back, like running just past. If you guys had me turn the camera around from where I was standing every time we were shooting, the RV was right there. It wasn't like we were far away. We were right at the RV, but that's fine. We filmed the outdoor scenes, got them all done. Matthew was happy with it. I was happy with it. Got to the indoor scenes, which meant Aiden and Matthew actually got to help me. Matthew didn't get help yet. Matthew was a trooper. He was there. He was helping out. But he didn't have any scenes until the very end of the film because this wasn't meant to be a monster flick. The point of Rules of Survival was to focus on the human aspect. Aiden was the villain. His character, the stranger, that was the villain. But the monster was just there. The monster was an aspect I wanted to introduce. And looking back, there was definitely a different way I would have done that. But I'm really happy with the focus on the stranger. Let's talk about that part of the pre-production. If you guys see my scripts, if you guys see the credits on a lot of projects, my characters don't always have names. This is where it started. We have Matthew starring as the runner, because he ran. Aiden starting as the stranger because we don't actually know him. And then Matthew Coles as the creature or the monster. It's okay. Those were actually really creative. When we get into Smile, you guys will find out that I named Cameron's character Pro, as in protagonist. I'm really creative, aren't I? Anyways, we get indoors and now it's Aiden's time to shine. We're in there. It's a very cramped space. That was something I didn't think about because in my mind, we weren't doing stationary shots. There was a lot of moving shots. The issue is the little kitchenette area between the bunks and the front area, about wide enough for one person and a camera. Not so much for another person and a person with a camera. And that really came in because one shot I had was moving back and forth and having Aiden walk past me and having the camera come with him. It doesn't work. Did not work at all. We did that shot and I stepped back and I'm gonna have to veto that. That's not gonna work. And we adjusted it, which is why there's that awkward scene of Aiden and Matthew walking across. Because Aiden, I was directing him to be this menacing, scary guy. He was meant to be intimidating. Can't walk straight through, okay? Especially because Aiden was being menacing. He wasn't gonna like shrink away from Matthew to give him enough space. He was walking straight through, which is why Matthew like hops onto the counter. But the shots went great. Aiden is an actor. Aiden acted. He did school plays, so having him on the project, I knew he was gonna be good. And Matthew really cared about the project. He's always really cared about the projects that he helps me out with. So there's no issue of him being able to take direction. I just have to tell him because he doesn't act a lot other than for me. I'm the one he acts for. But we get into it, we're filming indoors, and we're doing all these different shots, and I have all these shots in my mind. The issue is the RV is just not the shape I had imagined. I'd been there and when writing and doing the storyboards, I had forgotten the exact layout and shape, especially with the bunks, because the shot I really thought was going to be like the money shot of the film. And remember, I have a money shot in my films. The money shot in Rules of Survival was meant to be when Matthew finds the bloodied hand. Do you guys remember that scene? If you don't, let me paint the picture. Matthew's looking on the bunk. He's pulling things around. He's really searching through things, but then you get the over-the-shoulder shot and you realize it's just a glove and like two other things because I thought we had more garbage up there to hide stuff in. So he's just like pattering around and he grabs the glove with, I think, the bandana hanging out of it. And that's meant to represent a bloody hand. And he has this whole, oh my God. And so I meant to do like a pull back while like zooming in. I'm forgetting the technical term for that shot. But I'm meant to do that. The issue is my back's against the bunk's not big. The bunk is about this wide. So with me in it and holding the camera, I have no space. So I have to improvise. And we do a ton of shots. I think this is the one shot that we took the most takes of out of any of them for this film. Because they just never looked good. I was always messing it up more than anything. Because I would either bump the camera and it wouldn't be smooth, or I would just not feel good about the shot, or Matthew and Aiden would make a joke. Aiden ruined so many takes because of how many jokes he made. But that's fine. Completely fine. Matthew does it. We do the shot, and then we get the actual money shot of the film, which Aiden has hated to this day. But I feel like it is the best shot of the film. It's where Aiden pulls out the knife and he does his line. The best line. The line, my favorite line of the film. Aiden goes, rules of survival changed. It's either you or me. Oh. Then we get to the scene where Aiden does his money line. His money shot. This ends up being the best shot of the film. That really becomes the poster for the film. If you guys have seen Rules of Survival, you know what I'm talking about. Aiden hates this shot. But he talks about how food's running low. All that. I decided close up of his mouth for this line. And so I did that, and when I uploaded it to YouTube, it automatically chose that close-up of his lips to be the thumbnail. And I left it like that for 6 years. And then I pre-made a poster for it, and I used that because that was the best shot of the whole film. I just feel like that's, in my mind, I have different scenes that I can relate to projects. Final Exposure, it's the Matthew thumbnail. Smile? We'll get to Smile. But Rules of Survival, it's Aiden up close like that. And he hates it. But he also appreciates the fact that I couldn't. But he hates that scene. And he hates the fact that that was what the thumbnail was for years. It still is. But we do those shots. We do Matthew getting attacked and stabbed. Him running off, getting stomped on. And that was a really fun scene to do. And that was the one scene that actually really didn't take a lot of takes. But it took forever to get going because Aiden refused to actually stomp on the camera. He was worried about breaking the camera, which I appreciate. But there are a couple of takes of it. And one take, and most of the takes, Aiden refused to even put his foot on top of the lens, like down onto it. So he would step right beside it. Which you would think would be okay. But there was a very clear time where you would think it was coming down and then you realize it was like way off. So we ended up just having him stomp down and come onto it, but he went too slow, and I didn't realize that until the editing room. So, not great. But that was meant to be a point of view shot of Matthew on the ground looking up at Aiden. There was a lot of different shots in this film. Matthew actually films the being dragged because we have his legs up. So Matthew's the one holding the camera, drops it down, and we get a shot of Matthew. And that's one of the shots I'm most proud of because it works so well. The little bounciness of Matthew as he's being dragged and he's like kind of out of it. I think that Rules of Survival is a massive step up, and I really feel like I can see my directorial, I can see my touch to it. I can see the improvements, and really my vision did come to life with Rules of Survival, which I'm so proud of. Get back, we do the final scene around the campfire. Which really we started a campfire not because we needed it for the shot. We were freaking cold. This RV didn't have heat. At least not that we could get working. We sat there and we had nothing going on, and it was cold. I mean, there's snow on the ground. It's raining. It's windy. It's March. So we get this fire roaring, and we're like, okay, we got one more shot, one more scene for today, and the film's done. We're almost done this film. We do that scene. And it doesn't go super fantastic. We have a little bit of issues with lines. I mean, this is my first time writing a script that the people are using. So I'm not experienced with scripts. And it really, I feel like, comes out clear, especially in some of the line delivery and the awkwardness, because they've tried to follow the script really well. And looking back, I should have redone the script. I should have written it a couple of times, had them read it, done tests. But not the end of the world. We do that little scene, Matthew's there, we get a couple of shots, and looking back, logically, it doesn't fully make sense that the creature Matthew thinks was Aiden because, you know? But either way, we do that. The creature. The creature does not go super well. It's meant to... As we were explaining, like going over things, and I was explaining it, I was like, okay, the creature, you're going to stand here, then I'm going to cut, you're going to move forward, going to cut, forward, cut, like all that. We're going to pause so you can move, and you're going to be like teleporting. That didn't end up happening. Instead, what happened was he walked up, grabbed Aiden, dragged him away, which, not the end of the world. It could have worked. We could have made that work. However, the issue of it, and again, an issue I didn't realize at the time because I was not reviewing footage. And that's something that I really learned after the fact. I need to be actively reviewing footage to make sure we're getting the shots I want. We need to be sure we're getting what I'm looking for. But I didn't. I wasn't doing that at the time. So that's on me. That's something I learned. That's something I gotta learn. I improved. This is my second short film. Okay, this is a different beast, different project, different camera. I don't know if I spoke about this, but when we filmed Campless, that camera did not have an external microphone input. That was the onboard camera mic. So, I wasn't really experienced making a short film with a mic and with all this other stuff, so I wasn't really experienced with thinking about that. I'd only filmed Campus. But we get into rules of survival. We do that final shot, and the one thing, and I realized it's in all the takes we did, Matthew's got a hand in his pocket. He walks up, one hand in his pocket, grabs Aiden, and he's dragging him away, still one hand in his pocket, because he's cold, I get it. But that, I don't want to say that ruins the take, because it doesn't, and that doesn't ruin the scene. I still love the film. I'm still a massive fan of what we did with it. But damn, I'd be lying if I said that didn't suck. Sitting here in the editing room and like looking at the film and going through like, this is so good. And then getting to the end and being like, cool. Monster does not work. But hey, you live, you learn, you improve. Now, that was the production of the film. I want to talk about some of the other pieces because this was a proper overnight shoot. This was also no chaperone. I drove us up there, and I don't think I actually have a single video of the van, but that was the car I used to drive when I first got my license. I was driving a van. It was a red Dodge Grand Caravan, which was awesome. It was really great. It was perfect. We had enough space for all my gear, all of their stuff, and all of them, plus our food. Because this was an overnight shoot. We were going up, filming here. We were going to stay the night, hang out. We watched movies, just had a great time, and we ate food. But what does all that mean? We have to have a budget. This is my first time working with a budget for a short film. And that was actually part of the project, was I had to budget out. If I was feeding people, all that. If I wanted to do all this stuff, I had to create a budget and follow it. So, I made a budget. We went out, got the food, stuck to it, fed everybody. We had a great time. Paid for gas. But it was a different thing to think about. It was the fact that I had to actually consider, because I wasn't paying my actors. They were doing this as a favor and in exchange for food. But you got to think about how much food you need to get, any allergies, how much gas costs, all of that. And so that all came into the planning part of Rules of Survival and getting this together, which wasn't that big of an issue. But it also meant that I didn't then have a lot of budget to spend on props and makeup. And one thing that was pointed out when I handed this project in and actually watched it with my teacher, when Matthew stabbed, there's no mark, there's nothing there to actually show that he was stabbed. And then Matthew, I love the guy, when he's walking away, he's just been stabbed, but he's going, I broke my leg. Didn't break your leg. But nevertheless, it's not the end of the world. There were some small mistakes, small issues, but it was a massive improvement. Getting into the editing room, I'm sitting there and I'm going through, and rather than with Campus where it was this is a good take, this is a bad take, I actually had to go through and have my script. I had a script next to me, my storyboard on the other side of my keyboard. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at both, and I'm going through the different takes, and I'm like, wow, these are actually good. And so instead of having one good take, I'm like, yeah, that's the only good one we did. I'm bouncing between a couple and be like, which one works best? And that was a different experience, and actually a really fun thing to realize that if you have multiple good takes, it makes editing the film a lot more fun, because now you actually have to sit here and go through and decide what you want to include in the film and what is just not going to make it. And that also meant that there was multiple drafts, where I would do a draft, I would do a whole film, I would do a whole cut of the movie, and I'd be like, I don't know if I like this. I don't love this scene now that I'm looking at it in the whole picture. Take that out, put the new other one in, edit it, I'm like, okay, that's better. That fits better. And it wasn't even like different line deliveries, because we had a script, we followed the script, so it was the same lines. But did I say line deliveries? I meant line deliveries. Sometimes it would just be, they would say something differently, or the look on their faces was just a little bit different, and it fit what I was looking for a little bit more. So it made it different to edit. This was a different project to Campless. If we compare it, they're completely separate beasts. Campless, it was just trying to make it good. Campless was very much I'll fix on the editing, like in the editing room, I'll fix it. We saw what happened there. But Rules of Survival went in very clearly with that idea of, I gotta get it first. Because in this film class, it was ingrained. You cannot say that. That doesn't work. That was where I learned you can't fix it in post. If you don't get it the first time, you don't get it. So I was really cautious and really careful about getting it the first time. And I think I did. That was very cocky. There was definitely some issues. There was some weird choices, some sound effects that I don't still stand by. But I got it done, and I screened it for Matthew, and Aiden, and they loved it. Aiden, of course, hated the scene where his mouth was the close-up, because he didn't like the scene when we filmed it. And I get it. But they really liked the film. And that was a different experience because I really liked the film. This wasn't like with Campless where I was really unconfident and like I couldn't even say that I enjoyed the film. I walked out of Rules of Survival being like, wow, this is one of the best experiences I've had. I had so much fun doing this. And I think that if Rules of Survival hadn't gone well, I don't know if I'd still be making videos to this day. Because Rules of Survival really, for the past 6 years, has been that project that I sit and I think about and I go, yeah, that is my first directorial debut. That's my directorial debut. That's my short film. That's my first short film. That's something I'm proud of. Looking back now, I can say that that Campless is my first short film. I don't have that sore spot, that massive embarrassment. But back then, and for a while, Rules of Survival overshadowed Campless. I tried to figure out Campless because I was like, Rules of Survival, that's what I wanted. That was what I tried to do. And I got it. I actually freaking got it. And that was a big deal to me. And I loved it. The one thing that I really, really loved about Rules of Survival was that I couldn't wait to put it out on YouTube. And I had so many people asking me about it because everyone knew. I went to a small school. Everyone knew that I was the video production guy. I was the guy that did films. I was the only guy in all of high school. 3 grades. 10, 11, 12. I was the only guy that was doing video production. I was the only guy doing film. So everyone knew that I was making short films. Everyone knew I was doing this. So everyone was really excited to see it. Because I was very particular about who I showed the film to. I held it to myself. It's when it finally came out, people watched it. People saw it, they enjoyed it, and they let me know. And that was really the moment where I was like, yeah, I'm good at this. And again, that sounds really cocky, but that's how I felt. I walked out of, not walked out of, but I uploaded it and I sat there and I went, yeah, this is something I can do. This is something that I'm good at. Because something I didn't talk about with Campless, it really affected my confidence in my ability to be a storyteller and do short films. Yes, I'd done the Kevin series, the little Kevin mini series with like 4 or 5 videos by this point. And yes, those happened, those worked. But I really just didn't have that confidence in me because of Campless, because it had gone so poorly. Not just in filming, the editing room, but everything fell apart. It wasn't something I felt proud of. And there was a big part of me that was like, I love doing this. I love making videos. I love doing this. I want to make movies. But am I any good at it? And if I'm not good at it, why am I wasting my time? But I can happily say, and obviously you guys know what I'm going to say, Rules of Survival gave me that confidence. The response, just me seeing it in general, it brought me back into saying, yeah, I can do this. And I'm proud of that. I teased this little show a while ago. I re-released Campless. I re-released Rules of Survival. This was different. I didn't find the original project files. I looked everywhere. I looked so much, I could not find it. But I did some touch-ups on the actual edit, the actual short film that was out. I pulled it off, did a couple improvements. I changed the credits because I had a better idea for the end credits that I wanted to do, and I'm really proud of what I did. I'm really happy I did that. But I sat down and I pulled it all, and I worked through it, and I put it up, but it wasn't a separate project. This was still Rules of Survival. This was more of a director's cut than like anything else. This was more of a director's cut than Final Exposure. So I put it up, really proud of it, really happy with what I had done. And I re-released it. Why? I wanted to give it its spot in the spotlight again. It is my first short film that I'm proud of, but it's not the biggest one. It is actually, the original is one of the least viewed short films, because the one next year became my most viewed video actually for a while. That's Smile, but we're not talking about Smile yet. But I really wanted to give new life, and I had this idea when I found the Campless footage back in the spring of what if I find the original footage for all these short films that I made in high school, and even Borrowed Ice, and I take them and I reinvigorate and I put my new skills and my new mindset in and see what I could do. And while I was working on Final Exposure, I was like, wow, this works. I really can change. I can change the film. So why don't I try it again? And I'm still looking for the footage. I don't think I have the footage for Rules of Survival. Unfortunately, I do think that was something that I did clear off. But I'm still looking for Smile. I'm still looking for Borrowed Ice. And if I find those, you guys might see a director's cut over those before they get a Cutting Room Floor episode. If not, those could get a Cutting Room Floor episode later. But I re-released it because I wanted to give it another shot, another bit of the spotlight. I can say it in videos, go check out Rules of Survival. I can say, oh, do this, set up posts and whatever, but really uploading it again is going to do it. And I'm really proud of Rules of Survival. Going through it and just doing a couple of tweaks really made me fall in love with the project again, because it's a fantastic project. I'm still so proud of what I did with it. And I am really, 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 really happy that it held up. That's another thing that I was kind of worried about with some of my projects, was that they wouldn't hold up going back now and looking at them. But I'd say Rules of Survival, it holds up. Yeah, it's dated. It's got some pieces that I don't love anymore, and I can definitely see the inexperience there, but it's miles ahead of Campless for me, at least. So, Rules of Survival, I love it. And that's the end of the second episode of the Cutting Room Floor. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. Was Rules of Survival truly a step up from Campless? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. Drop a like if you enjoyed today's episode, and leave a comment down below about what project you want me to cover next. And I will see you guys next week at 12 p.m. on the Cutting Room Floor. I love you guys to death. Do not stay sweet, and I'll see you soon.